Hello and welcome to The Door to Law. My name is Donya and today I'm very pleased to say that I am joined by Allison Hosking. Allison is the Director of Knowledge Management and Legal Transformation at Altamimi, which is the largest law firm in the Middle East, where she oversees the firm's knowledge management strategy and looks for ways to improve the efficiency of the delivery of legal services at Altamimi through the adoption of legal tech solutions. Allison was also previously a lawyer and supports women in law and legal tech. So today we're going to be talking about exactly that, the challenges that women face in law and legal tech and what can be done to overcome those challenges. Allison, welcome.
Thank you, Donya.
Thank you so much for joining me today. So first of all, I wanted just to ask you, can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Sure.
How you kind of went from being a lawyer to entering the field of knowledge management and legal transformation?
Yeah, of course. So I didn't actually set out to be a knowledge manager or get involved with legal tech. It was more of a institutional requirement, really. At my previous firm, I was a lawyer and then moved into the kind of knowledge and learning side of the firm. At the time, so this is a few years ago, there was a real emphasis on what are we doing to be more efficient, what are we doing from an innovation perspective. Suddenly the legal world had woken up to thinking about shifting the dial and thinking about innovation more broadly. So I got quite interested in that and was asked if I would take part or be a member of the innovation group at my previous firm. When I joined Altamimi 2 years ago, I came in as the head of knowledge management, but I was quite quickly aware of the fact that there was, again, a lot that we could be doing from an innovation and efficiency perspective. And so, as is the way, I kind of meddled a bit and said, what are we doing and can I lead on that? But as you said, prior to that, I was a lawyer. I've worked all over the place. I've kind of been a bit nomadic. I've worked in Chile, New York,
wow.
India, the UK.
So you love to travel, get around a bit.
Yeah.
Love it. So, of course, technology, at the moment, particularly, in relation to the legal profession, is discussed in the context of, how can we improve the delivery of legal services and better serve the clients. But today, I know you are very passionate about women, so I wanted to focus on technology in the context of diversity a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of ask you really whether or not you think there is space for technology to perhaps improve gender diversity and open the doors to women, or whether you think there's maybe a risk, which is an argument that because law and technology are both kind of traditionally male-dominated industries, that where legal tech represents a cross-section of those, that could perpetuate gender bias. I mean, what's your view?
Yeah, we haven't got very long, have we? I could talk about this for hours.
I'm sorry.
So I think at the moment we're not doing enough for there to be a more balanced representation of women within law generally, but also more particularly within legal tech. It's interesting because, as we know, at entry level within the legal profession, there are slightly more women than men that enter, and then that starts to fall away the higher up you go within the profession. Within legal tech, it's even more profound. So I think when I last looked at the stats, only 15% of legal tech founders are female, and only 2% are getting the relevant VC funding. That is a big concern for me, because when we look at things such as AI, there has been proven gender bias within the data that's being used to kind of feed the machine, so to speak. Absolutely. And there's more that we need to be doing. Also, from a kind of VC perspective, there is many male groups that are the ones that are doing the funding, and it's quite difficult for women to kind of penetrate those worlds and actually get the right funding that they need to progress with their legal tech solutions. We've got to change the narrative, and it's something that, as I said, I'm very passionate about. Christina Blacklaws, who's the former president of the Law Society of England and Wales, spoke very eloquently on this earlier this year, and there's lots of campaigns, Women in Legal Tech, hashtag legal tech, version 2. We're involved in the She Breaks the Law movement over here and elsewhere. So it is something that does concern me, and I think we've got to get to that point where we are seeing more women being represented. I also think it comes down to our own responsibility as purchasers of legal tech to actually look beyond who's supplying that legal tech and ask the questions, you know, who have you got on board? Who have you got in the office? Who's helping you doing the coding? What are your gender diversity stats?
Everyone taking action for themselves to help kind of contribute.
Yeah.
And I want to touch upon artificial intelligence because you mentioned that, you know, there. And you're right, it is only as good as the data that it's fed.
Yeah.
But there is another kind of discussion that's been had around artificial intelligence in the sense that, especially in the legal profession, is often being used to kind of basically replace the more junior menial tasks that are undertaken by junior lawyers, let's say due diligence, for example. And so as a result of that, there's an argument that it may create kind of more space for individuals to focus on, let's say, more human skills, whether it's emotional intelligence or empathy, which are skills that artificial intelligence has more difficulty replicating. Now, I'm just wondering, do you think there's room there for female lawyers to kind of capitalize on that and maybe harness those skills? And I don't mean to be gender biased here, but typically it's said that women, those type of skills do come more easier to women than men. And what's your thought on that?
I think that's a really good point. From the perspective of the use of AI, as you mentioned, it is something which is removing those menial tasks away from lawyers. And also, frankly, that clients don't want to pay for, which I absolutely support. So what is that doing? I think we're now seeing a really very much a different type of legal profession from certainly the one that I joined many years ago, insofar as it's not just about black letter law. We've got to be customer centric. We've got to think about our clients. And that involves, if we are using more machine learning to support what we do, it comes down to the value traits such as empathy, such as emotional intelligence, such as collaboration, cultural awareness. And you're right, again, not wishing to do a sweeping generalisation, but women have a tendency, not always, to be able to exhibit those traits, which acts in their favour. However, if we're going to succeed as a profession, we need the men on board as well. Yeah. We can't just have it that it's the women who are doing the, you know, kind of warm fuzzy stuff with clients.
Absolutely.
If that's how it's perceived, it's got to be a joint effort.
No,
but absolutely. I think we hopefully are a bit ahead of the game compared to our male counterparts in that respect.
Yeah, I think so. Now, talking about female traits, there is an issue in that women sometimes can be faced with what's called the double bind dilemma, right? So if they're too nice, they might be deemed to be weak or incompetent. Yeah. If they're too tough, they might be said to be bossy or pushy. Is there anything that you know, in your experience, that women can do at all to kind of overcome that obstacle?
Yeah, this is something which I've witnessed for a long time, and it's something which we ourselves don't necessarily do any favours. So we always kind of preface things with, oh, sorry, did you hear that? Or whatever.
That's such a good point. I actually do that a lot.
Yeah. Or we allow men to kind of speak over us, interrupt us, do the whole mansplaining thing. We are more likely to retreat into ourselves. The vernacular around, I hate it, about saying, oh, she's just very bossy. It's like, well, you don't ever describe a man as being bossy. We've got to ban bossy. There was that campaign a few years ago about ban bossy. We've got to support each other. There's got to be changing the terminology that's used to describe women, because we don't see it used in the same way for men.
No.
You know, that
men are called assertive, for example.
Exactly. Never bossy. That's an assertive individual. So we've got to support each other. We've also got to bring the men on that journey with us and call it out, which is easier said than done, depending on where you are within an organisation. But I feel very passionately about trying to equip both men and women with the skills to be able to say, actually, no, that doesn't sit easily with me. I don't really like the way that you've said that or how you've described that individual.
It's probably just more learning, more knowledge, so people are aware of the language that they're using as well.
And it starts before we enter the workplace. It has to start in schools and then be continued within universities, etc. I've got 2 girls and 2 boys, and they are treated the same. I'm very clear that, you know, there's been this whole idea that maths is for boys, art is for girls. Yeah. That's starting in junior schools, you know, so we've got to kind of strip that out, because if we don't, it's just going to perpetuate and continue.
You're right. I mean, it's a societal issue.
Totally.
At the very bottom of it.
Totally.
So, final question for you. This is specific, I guess, to maybe a law firm environment, but any corporate environment where perhaps the more senior you get, and you mentioned it earlier, within law firms, it tends to be that the numbers drop as the women become more senior. So, in an environment where perhaps there are female role models are lacking, what can kind of junior female associates do in terms of perhaps looking for a mentor or a sponsor that can kind of help them? Because actually a mentor and a sponsor can have such a huge impact on someone's career.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Just to kind of unpick a bit about why are we having a drop off in females as we go up through the legal sector, particularly within law firms. Why is that? So I was part of a study, or the law firm that I used to work for was part of a study a few years ago, where we joined forces with McKinsey and the 30% Club and looked at 17 or 18 professional services firms and identified what is it that is making us have this drop off from that 50-50 entry level to it being, well, less than 30%, which is why the reason that 30% Club came about. And there are lots of reasons for it. Many were there's no role models, there's nobody that I'm seeing above me. The messaging isn't impacting, or it isn't trickling down from very senior management down to kind of rank and file level partners or directors or whatever their job title is. And also women themselves. Interestingly, it's women themselves who we have a tendency to say, oh, I can't fulfill 95% of that job criteria, so I'm not going to give it a go. Yeah. Whereas research proves that men are more likely to go, yeah, I'll have a go. I could do 6 out of 10, let's give it a go.
Even if they only fulfill 50%, they're willing to apply, you're right.
Absolutely. So in terms of mentors and sponsors, it's really important, I think, for us to seek out mentors and sponsors, and we need to make sure that we know the difference between the two. So mentors are there who are people who've got experience, who are there to advise us on our careers and offer that general support. Sponsors are there to advocate for their proteges. Exactly. They're going to be much higher up within an organisation. And I think for it to work, you actually do need both. You need a mentor and a sponsor. And I think one of the key things is making sure that if you can't find somebody within your organisation who you, as a young female lawyer, and you look it up and you're thinking, well, there's actually nobody there who I can relate to for whatever reason that may be, then there's absolutely no harm. In fact, I think there's a benefit from also looking outside your organisation and looking outside the sector. There's been a recent uptick in reverse mentoring, which is absolutely brilliant, where you've got somebody senior within an organisation who's been coupled with somebody more junior, and for that more junior person to actually give their insights into what their views are and how that organisation's been run or how they see the future, because there can be a big gap between somebody,
particularly generational,
who's sitting in that C-suite and somebody who's, some young 20-something who's had a very different life experience. So the reverse mentoring, I think, is important as well. And so none of us can kind of shut off the need for mentoring. It doesn't matter how old you are and what experience you've got. I think it's really important.
No, I agree. And I would just add that I'm also part of a mentoring program. So for any lawyers that are watching, there are many organisations out there, and I currently mentor a junior lawyer who sits in London, while I'm in Dubai, but we do it online and it works. And the program's called Grow.Mentoring, but there are so many out there to look out for. Alison, I wish we could talk about the subject all day. There's so much to talk about, but I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. It was a really insightful conversation.
Thank you so much, Donya, for inviting me. It's been great.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching.